Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm so happy you're with us today. Our guest today is a somewhat fanciful, if you might want to call it that, and mystical psychic. And he wasn't always that way, so he has things to teach, and I'm excited to have them taught to you. So I eagerly welcomed him to be part of our little group here. Nick Musica is an SEO expert by profession. He's a plant medicine enthusiast as well, and he's a psychic animal communicator. But again, he wasn't always those things, and he opened himself and opened his consciousness in ways that many people tell me they can't do. And I tell people, yeah, everybody can do this. It's just sort of a latent skill that most people don't allow themselves to open up to. So he's apparently someone who's able to teach this, which I can't do. And I'm excited to have him begin to teach you how to do what he can do. He tells us that he had his first psychic and psychedelic experiences in his early 20s. Boy, that's most people who have that kind of backstory are in their 70s now. That was a time. Wow, I remember it well. I guess that that's something that most young people really now haven't had much experience with. But he says that most for recently that kind of thing is surfacing again, which I think is great. And for much of his adult life, though, he was what most people would consider to be just normal and living his life. But that changed when Nick started exploring consciousness with plant medicine and with a spiritual teacher. And he tells us that a connection opened for him that continued to grow and continued to evolve. And he went to a psychic medium who told him that he could easily communicate with animals. And he had some false starts, but then he discovered that she had been right. Nick Musica now communicates with other people's animals, and he helps people to develop their own intuitive gifts. Nick, welcome. I am really excited about this. It's very good to have you with us on Seek Reality today.
Roberta, thank you for having me here. Pleasure to be here.
Now, one of the things that really interests me is I said beforehand about your
Yeah.
story is that you have actually done what I tell so many people they can do. But, and I even try to teach this. I have tried to teach this to some people, but they just don't believe they can do it. And as you know, if you don't believe you can do it, then you can't do it.
That's right.
So if you can help us to understand how you develop these abilities in yourself, not when you were really young, but a little bit later in life.
Sure. And I'd love to just like bump the conversation up just a little bit at a higher level for a moment, which is just to sort of expand on what you said, which is if you believe you can or you can't, right? Someone said this someplace. You're right. And
You're
so
right. Exactly.
right.
Whichever you
So
believe, you are right.
100%, you're right. Yeah, you may fail the first time, the second time, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the core belief is going to prove out to be true one way or the other. And so that applies to everything, not just what we're talking about today.
That's
Um,
so true. Okay, so let's say that one more time so everybody understands how profound it is. If you believe you can or you believe that you can't, you're right.
you're right. Yeah. So here's how it started for me. And I always had an interest in psychic and all the odd things in the I guess it was the occult section back when I was a teenager. Now it's sort of self-helpy in some ways, right? Depending on where you go to in the bookstore. But my first experience was with the psychic was like when I was 17, 18, something like that. And I remember wanting to go to see the psychic when I got my license. And and so that was my first experience. I remember him telling me one time when I came out, he said, I don't understand why I always come out of the sessions like feeling stoned. I feel high coming out. And I didn't understand it at the time. But his response was, well, because you go deep in the meditation. And I thought, oh, okay, I don't know what that means. And then I left. Um, and I don't know if that started things or how or why it started, but at age 20, I started to have these experiences. I started to live snippets of my dreams, and they're called. I only learned recently, really, that they're called clairvoyant dreams, right? So it's like having a dream about a person, or something random on a corner in a city. You dream this, and then You never been to that city, you never seen that corner in a picture, you don't know who that person is. And then day, a week, a month, a year, whenever it is later, you're driving your car by that person on that corner in that city, and you go, "That's so weird. That's so weird."
Yeah,
And it wasn't lucid dreams, it wasn't deja vu, right? I checked it out, and nothing really landed. Um, and so that was sort of like a tap on the shoulder, and I think a lot of folks, when I tell them this, they go, "Yeah, well, that doesn't happen to me." And especially in a group of folks, you go, "Well, everyone raise your hand if this has happened to you. Have you ever been thinking about someone and then magically they call, or they send a text, or
yeah,
vice versa?
right.
You call or you send a text, and on the other end of the line, they go, 'Oh my God, it's so weird. I was just thinking about you.'" I mean, that's what we're talking about. These are the little hints that are out there for us to pick up, or we get to say, it's a choice, right? I can or I can't. We get to say, "Oh, that's a coincidence. That's so weird." You can't do anything with coincidence. You can't do anything with weird.
That's right. There are basically there are no such things as coincidences.
Right. Right. So
They're deeper than that. That's right.
so when you start to see the things starting to pile up, and in my case, it started to pile up, and for about 9 months, I started to hear, because of the meditation, I started to see things, hear things before the animals kicked in. Um,
This before the animals kicked in.
yeah, and for a while, and feel things with the meditation, feeling the energy, like the psychic said when I was 17 or 18. For about 9 months, I thought, "What is going on here? I feel like I'm losing a little bit, but the rest of my life is fine." I'm married. I'm still married. I have friends. I still have friends. I'm paying my bills. I still have a job. Everything was fine, but there's my reality is fundamentally changing. And I just metaphorically sat myself down and said, "Okay, you get to choose. You get to choose. There's two paths here. You can say this is all nonsense and stuff it away, or you can say this is too big to ignore and step into it." And the latter was my choice.
Wow. So this is when you were quite young. You
Well,
were
this was, from 20 to now, we'll say, um, the dreams have been a thing. 2017 is when things really started to open up with the meditation. And then I guess it was really only about 2 years ago that the animal showed up. And I went to that psychic and she said, "You'll be able to talk to animals and it'll be easy for you." And I thought, among other things, because it sounds crazy. And so I certainly had those thoughts, but the feel that you have to it was, "Oh man, like that's so true. I couldn't tell you why." And then I was, I'm naturally skeptic, and things have to be hard, right? They have to be hard in order for them to work. So I put stumbling blocks in front of me. It didn't work, and I called her up and she gave me some counsel. And then at the end of all of it, she was right. It is relatively easy, and I think it is for a lot of people. However it shows up for you, there's different versions. Everyone has their own version of it, and I do believe that could be easy for everyone.
yes. But we're all different people. I mean, there are a lot of people are wonderful singers, but their voices are all somewhat different.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, so we can all be a musician. Can we all
Mhm.
sing? Maybe. Maybe that's not all of our things, right? Can we all play string instruments? Maybe. Can we all play piano? Maybe. Like there's going to be certain places where we excel, but we can all be musicians of some type. We can all be
Yeah.
athletes of some type. We can all be
Yeah.
psychics of some type.
Yes. But all people who are trying to do these things too also have demands. It has to be of a certain kind. I try to, if people who have someone who has died will be trying so hard to hear that person's voice, and
Yeah.
virtually always, because someone who
Yeah.
has just died has never communicated before. It's going to
Yeah.
be a whisper. And yet the
Yeah.
person who is desperate to hear from their loved ones are expecting a shout. It doesn't come that way. We
No,
have to we have to allow people to be who they are and listen for the whisper. And I
that's
can't
right.
tell you how many times I can just about hear their dad, but they say, "No, he's really not talking." I say, "Your dad is talking to you. Will you please just listen for this still small voice?"
Yeah.
So people are so unnecessarily demanding that things be a certain way when they just are never going to be that way. They're going to
That's right.
be the way they are.
Yeah. Yeah, which is one of the lessons, right? It's you can ask for things and let's blow it up again. Like you'd ask for things very specifically with the topic we're talking about or with life in general, right? I want a car that is this make model, right? Or do you want the best vehicle for you,
Right.
right? I want to be a millionaire, right? Oh, you want to cap your earnings at $1 million, right? You just put
Yeah.
a limitation on yourself.
Yeah.
Um, there's a great book, great author, Florence Scovel Shinn. She was the um, she was the inspiration for a lot of Louise Hay's work,
Yes.
and she produced these books. I think it was like in the 40s, 50s, 20s. I don't know. I'm not good with remembering the date, but they're fascinating. They're fascinating books, and she's really all about like being open to receiving the best way possible for yourself. And
Yes.
if you want something to show up in a very specific way, right? Like you're looking through the hole of a needle, then that is all that can fit through there. And everything outside of it, you blind out. You do not see it. It is not an
Yes.
opportunity.
Yes. So how did it first happen that you began to be able to communicate with animals?
Yeah. Yeah. So after I went to go see her name is Medium Adelita. After I went to go see her, I came home and I did my typical meditation that I do, and I thought, well, I'm just gonna go find my cat, my living cat. And and what I saw immediately was this big bright light. And it's the type of light that you would associate with like spirit guides, angels, like a higher level being. And I thought, absolutely not. You know, my cat poops in a box. Sometimes he poops on the floor. My cat is not a higher level being. This is not working, right? The easy, forget it. It's not even working. And so that's when I called her. And I got some counsel, and after I got some counsel, things slowly but surely started to open up, and when this type of thing, I'll just speak for myself. When it happened to me, like it's not something you can readily talk about with a lot of people because who understands this type of thing? And more
Yeah.
people do today than they did 20 years ago, right?
Oh,
I
for
mean,
sure.
my best counsel 20 years ago was an Edgar Casey book. Um, Today, it's you can find a bunch of people who will have a conversation with you, and as soon as you open up, they'll go, "Man, this weird thing happened to me too. Can I share it with you? I don't tell anyone this."
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
that's right. That's super cool. And so things started to open up for me, and a dog in Home Depot, like a little energetic connection happened. I had a communication with a dolphin in Mexico. So a lot of things were just sort of opening up for me. And and then about a year ago, a buddy of mine said, "Well, do you think you can do this for other people?" And I said, I have no idea. And so he said, well, why don't you find out? So I went on to Nextdoor, which is an app. It's like Facebook, but instead of friends, it's people in your neighborhood. And I put a post up there. I said, hi, my name is Nick Musica. I'm an animal communicator. This means I psychically communicate with animals. Click here for free 15 minutes. Let's see how it works, right? And I hit submit, and I thought, what did I just do? How is this going to work? Um, and the submit button went to a Google form, a Google sheet, so I can see on my computer when someone actually puts their information in. And I'm just watching this form, wondering what's going to happen. And sure enough, a couple minutes later, seconds, whatever it was, the first row fills up with the woman's first name, last name, name of her dog, age of the dog, three questions to ask. And I felt her show up. Like there's this energetic push that happened. And I go, oh yeah, this is totally going to work.
Yeah.
So I talked to her dog like on a Wednesday, and then I debriefed with her on Friday. And at the end of the conversation, she says, the reason why I wanted to talk to you is because my former animal communicator has passed, and me and my friends are looking for a new one. Would you be okay if I sent you referrals? Well,
Oh,
first
wow.
yeah, first one out of the gate. Yeah, not so bad. Yeah, okay. Yeah, tell them to call me.
Absolutely. And so, and did it work with their animals?
It did. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing when you hear something that is so, I mean, you feel silly sometimes saying it, right? Because there's no context sometimes. So here's an example. There was a woman I was chatting with, and like a lot of it could have been good guesses, shall we say, right?
Yeah,
Which from a skeptical perspective, mine, I'm like, I want something a little meatier, right? And you don't get to define what meaty is, right? Like going back to you're open to whatever comes. What you get is what you get, right? But then at the end, it got a little weird, and uh, and I hesitated, and she goes, "Well, just say it." And I go, "Okay, popcorn." And she says, "No, no, I don't eat popcorn." All right, that fell flat. And then I said, "Wheel of Fortune," because I heard Wheel of Fortune. And there's a pause. And then she starts dying laughing and she says, "We watch it every night together." And as a matter of fact, a couple weeks ago, I did have popcorn. I bet she had some. So that was those types of things are super satisfying because sometimes it's your dead your past dog said this, or they're here for a guidance, and so for people who are skeptical like myself, like that's while I can see that it lands for the other person, and sometimes when you say something and then you get the waterworks on the other side, even if it's not something equivalent to Wheel of Fortune,
yeah,
you know that you said something that was meaningful, even though you really have no idea what you're saying in the moment.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's when when an animal has passed and you're in
Yeah.
contact with that animal and the animal was very important to you and you know that animal is waiting for you. The animal is sort of becomes almost a guide for you. That is such a precious thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Talking to you makes me think that again. I mean, for me, it's a horse, and he is so 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 special to me. It was I couldn't be there when they had to put him down because I was with small children. Um, at it was Sunday. I was with small children at church, and he just was unable to. He was cast, as they call it, cast in his stall. He could not get up,
Mm.
and he was almost 30 years old, and he had arthritis. And they said, "What do you want us to do?" And I didn't want him to suffer, so I said,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's time. You need to put him down right now. I didn't want him to suffer." And it was very hard for me not to be there. And 2 nights later, I get a very long and complicated communication dream in which he thanked me for so many things. And basically he was telling me we're going to be together again and this is what we're going to do. I mean,
Mm.
the whole thing was such an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And ever since then, when I very seldom down, but when I've been down, he's he's come to me in the night and given me a hug as George's hug. I mean, it's just the most wonderful thing when you know you're going to be together again and when they communicate with you,
Yeah.
that
Yeah. It's
way.
amazing. Yeah. It's super emotional. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
It has been a while. I mean, it's those preschoolers are now young adults, 20 years old. I
Yeah.
mean, he died a long time ago, but he's still, if I need him, I know he's there.
Yeah.
Quite a wonderful thing.
Yeah. It's super cool.
But the kinds of things you can do for people by giving them the comfort of being able to communicate with their pets that have gone ahead
Yeah.
is quite beautiful.
Yeah. 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 It's amazing. It's amazing.
But do you teach people how to communicate with their pets?
I, if someone wants to learn how to do that, I'd be happy to do that. I prefer to teach people how to connect better. Um,
With a living pet?
I'm sorry, yeah, thank you. With their open up their connection so that they can better facilitate their connection to source, spirit, whatever the word is you want to use.
Oh, okay, with spirit, or with their maybe with their spirit guides too.
Yeah. And really just sort of be open to it and go from not having experiences to having experiences, because that's where things start to change, right? And so when she said, and it'll be easy for you, when Adelie said you'll be able to talk to animals and it'll be easy for you, there was, for me, there was no reason to think it would be easy other than the fact that I've been sort of working on this for the past, we'll call it 5 years, if I can do the math right,
Mhm,
with the on and off meditation and developing slowly and inconsistently my own practice.
mhm.
Um, but once she said that, and I had the experience, and I know how I've been when I've been more consistent with meditation and when I've been less consistent with meditation, and the ease of connection versus the struggle of like, come on, can we get it to work? Um, there's it's a relationship you're building, right? And then there's a commitment to it, and I think one of the easiest ways to explain it is if you want to get in shape and you go to the gym to get a trainer, you meet them at a certain time every day, and you commit and you show up and do the work every day.
Mhm.
And there's a communication and there's a relationship that develops over time. And you may
Yeah.
or may not get a new trainer, right? You may
Yeah.
or may not continue to do the same exercises, but you're doing the active training. And and for most folks, that's enough. For professional athletes, you're doing the training to play the game. So
Hmm.
so for me, my training is the daily meditation. It's the daily meditation. It's not drinking alcohol. It's staying active. It's eating well. That's the
Yes.
daily commitment, right?
I think that's very important for you to say because many people don't understand. They think of they don't understand that their body is their best instrument.
Yeah,
They think of their mind as something separate, but it's not. They're housing their mind in this body, and this body has to be maintained in peak form.
yeah,
It's to be well fed, well
that's right.
exercised, well maintained. Um, not drinking alcohol is important, not taking drugs, exercising it, sleeping well. I mean, I've learned the best parts of the night to be asleep, partly because when your body sleeps, your mind, for part of that night, travels.
Yeah,
And you need to be able to let your mind travel when it what most wants to travel. So to be asleep at the same times every night is healthy for your mind to be able to leave at the same times every night and travel. People don't understand that. Most people don't realize how important that is to give your mind the opportunity, your astral body, the opportunity to travel at the same times every night. I
yeah,
mean, there's so much we do for mind and spiritual health that obviously to do, and that's one reason why you're able to do so much with your mind and with your
yeah,
spiritual
yeah. It's true.
well-being.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, and I used to drink alcohol. I love beer. I just love the taste of beer.
Yeah,
And and 2 Julys ago, I went out with a buddy for my last beer, and it wasn't something I decided to do. It was because after doing that and having all but a beer and a half, San Diego beer and a half, which is turboed with alcohol, and also delicious. I just couldn't connect with animals for about a week. Like it was just completely 100% flat. It felt like a piece of me sort of died for a little bit.
yeah,
Uh, and so well, we're just not going to do that anymore.
yeah. For me, it's margaritas. I mean,
They're delicious too.
yeah, right. I love margaritas, but I began to realize I'm not sleeping as well when I have a margarita. I'm not, I my there's something about it, it isn't, I'm not sinking as well
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah,
And when I gave them up, which was a year ago now, same kind of thing as you did. I just stopped doing it, and suddenly everything was in place in a better way. So
that's
I
right.
said, okay, that's too bad, but
Yeah,
there are
it
things
atrophies
more
the
important
connection.
than, yeah.
Yeah, it atrophies the connection. Yeah, yeah.
So
So
we do what is best for our spiritual and mental well-being, and we find that just works better.
yeah.
I don't miss it now, but I did for a little while. I quite a bit missed it. A little margarita with the family at
You
dinner.
know, I went out with buddies this past week, and one of my buddies got a he got a hazy IPA, you know, and I love them. I miss the taste of it, and so I'm on a quest for non-alcoholic beer, and there's a few out there. But none of them are what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Um, but, you know, and it's fine because once you make there's no thought of maybe I'll get one, maybe I'll just have a little bit.
Mm,
It's a trap. It's a slippery slope, right? So it's this, I can miss it, I can want it, but there's no thought of getting it. It's a
yeah, that's
pass
how I
fail.
feel as
You
well.
just don't do it. You just don't. Makes life easier and better.
So someone is saying, I really want to connect with my spirit guides. I really want to connect with loved ones in spirit. I
Yeah.
really want to develop a better connection. I'd like to be able to talk with my dog. I'm very close to my dog. We go on walks. Um, how do they start?
Yeah. So uh, I've done it in groups and I've done it in one-on-ones. And
Mhm.
so it's really quite simple. Sit down, have a meditation, and at the end of it, we chat about what happened. And here's the funny thing, and I still experience this with other folks. Like when you sit down with folks who can really build energy, can really get it moving, even if you can't do that, it's almost like being in the same boat and having a strong rower in with you, right? Like you're going to get to your destination faster. You're going to have a different experience in that boat than if you did it alone. So, folks, every time we do it, they go, "Oh, that was interesting. Okay, great." And so now I want you to go do it between now and next week, and then come back and we'll chat. And the first couple weeks, um, the conversation, assuming they actually do the work, they come back and go, "I did it, but it wasn't what happens when we do it together. It wasn't the same experience." Okay, well, we're building a muscle. It's a skill like anything else, right? So
Sure.
there's a conversation of it's a gift, it's a skill. I would argue that when it shows up, it's a gift. You get to do something with it. And like with any other gift, you can choose to give it away, you can choose to keep it in the box, you can put it in the closet, you can forget about it, whatever. But that's a decision point. And after that, when you commit to it, whatever level you commit to it, it now becomes something you can work on, a skill.
Mhm.
So it's time under task. It's really simple math. How long you going to do the thing for? You'll get better at doing it. You do anything long enough, you get good at it,
Yes,
including this,
yes,
right?
yes.
So we'll do that for about a month. We'll have those types of experiences once a week, and they go home with homework. And there's some exercises in the homework. But for folks listening, I would say here are three things. I call them the three C's. Three things to think about. So the first one is coincidence. There are no coincidences. We talked about probably most of them. There's no coincidences. When someone calls you and you were just thinking about them, it's not a coincidence.
No,
When you were
not at
thinking
all.
about a song on the radio and it shows up, it's not a coincidence, right? So let's stop thinking about things as coincidences, because, like I said, you can't do anything with coincidence or weird, but you can do something uh, by picking up the breadcrumbs that are being left for you. They're intentionally being left for you. So start picking them up, and the breadcrumbs will start getting bigger, more consistent.
There are, I mean, even just having someone come to mind,
Yeah,
you suddenly think of somebody you haven't thought of for a long time. Your minds are connecting. Your mind, his mind, or your mind and her mind are connecting in a way. And, why not shoot them an email, give them a call? They were thinking of you too, and they're going to think, oh, that was a coincidence, and you just say no. I mean, we were there in connection for a moment.
Yeah.
Let's have lunch. Deepen those relationships, deepen the relationships that have mattered to you in the past. Um, Sometimes there will be some reason behind it, and you won't know what that is at the time, but you'll discover later what it was. Um, I mean, I'm an afterlife expert. What I have found in the past on occasion was that someone in someone's life then became very sick or even died, and someone who loved that person was suddenly in touch with me again, hadn't been for a long time, and they were glad that they were in touch with me again because
Yeah.
they could then ask me questions. They could talk to me about it.
Yeah.
And therefore, I was glad that I had prompted them to have that connection with me again. So whatever you have that's a gift you can share with that person, it'll make it easier to share if you allow or prompt them to talk to you, to just, share an email or two. Makes it easier for
Yeah.
them then to get in touch with you a month later and say, hey, I just realized this, maybe you could help me with this, or how can I help you with something? I heard you had this problem, or something. Anytime you can give some love, give yourself the opportunity to do that, because that's a gift to yourself, the fact that you can give someone some love. Um, it broadens your heart. It deepens your own life to be able to give someone some love.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. Yeah. Great. Yeah. So the second C is channel, as in be the channel. Right.
Be
And
the
so,
channel. Talk about that.
yeah. So what it means is being open to whatever you're receiving. Right. So let's not look for things to come in very specific packaged ways.
Oh, that's true. Yes. Yes, yes.
Right. Like I want grandpa to come through loud and clear on a megaphone. Right. Like,
Yes.
oh, okay. Well,
Yes. He used to be a
you
farmer, so he should be holding a pitchfork.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. He used to, give me a pinch on the shoulder when he would walk by, whatever. Like I want you can want that all you want. You're
That's
blinding out
right.
everything else, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what he always used to do to me. So I want to do it now. Yeah,
That's right. That's
exactly.
right. And so I used to, when the animals first came through, I thought, or when I was told I was going to talk to the animals, I was like, oh, so it's going to be like how things were before, like with seeing things and hearing things and feeling things, but just like this over here with the animals. No, that was super restrictive, right? Didn't work.
Yeah.
And I can think of more than one occasion, and I'll share one where if that was true, these other things just wouldn't happen. It wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have gotten a visitation by coyotes in the middle of the night, 2 nights in a row,
Wow.
right? So that just because that didn't fit this pattern over here, right? So be
Yeah.
open to how anything is going to show up. Just be open to it.
Yes. Yes,
And
yes.
and the most important thing is uh and I have to manage myself on this. Like I want those 3D clues. I want those 3D things to land, right? But it's that's me. And I'm blocking the information with my narrative and my
Right.
wants. So
Right.
I'm literally blocking the information. I'm closing the door when I do that. So I need to excuse those thoughts, open the door, and then relax and let the other things show up.
I think that's so important. And it's hard for us. We have to keep reminding ourselves that it's not up to us how the clues or how the connections, how these things happen. We have to really be open to however they're going to happen.
Yeah,
It's up to spirit.
that's
Yes.
right. That's right. Yeah, and you may be able to receive something easier. They may be able to send something easier,
Yep.
right? So just be open to receiving, and
Yeah.
then and all the problems go away.
And it's actually, it makes it fun in a way because sometimes it really surprises us
That's right.
the
That's
way
right.
it happens. Oh, that's what that was. Oh, and
Yeah.
weren't they clever to send it that way? I had
Yeah.
forgotten about that.
Oh my
That
goodness.
that
Yeah.
was important to this or that person, or that,
Yeah.
this is what, of course, that's what Grandpa would have done. Yeah, it can be kind of exciting and fun that way when we're open.
That's right. Yeah. So
We're
so if
open.
I only wanted pictures showing up, what I would have never gotten was when I was talking to a client's dog, and the dog shows up, and the dog's spicy. It's like a spicy dog, and he's communicating with this Boston accent, and
Was he a
and
Boston Terrier by some chance?
no,
No.
he's not. I forget what kind of dog it was, but like it had nothing to do with the dog, and I told the client this, and she goes, okay, and I said, and he said it with a like a Southie accent.
Oh, gee.
And she goes, really? And I go, yeah, does that mean something to you? She goes, I used to live in Boston. Oh. So then you know the attitude and the oomph that comes along with that accent. Like you know when someone's communicating to you with like that, because it's not just the words, right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
something that happens with that as well,
of
with that
course.
persona. Pick the region, right? Hawaii, New York, Boston, whatever. There's something that happens when you have those people who are, salt of the earth folks from those places communicating to you in a way that only they can communicate. And that's what
Uh-huh.
the dog was doing.
Oh,
And I would have never like I don't know what that means to her, and I would have never picked that up if it was only give me pictures. Mm-mm. Just wouldn't have happened.
no. Isn't that, isn't that fun that the dog would do that?
It's so funny. So funny. Yeah. It's a hoot. It's a hoot how sometimes they show up and how they communicate. Okay, so the third C for folks out there, we talked about coincidence, we talked about channel, we talked, and the third one is commitment, and it's the gym analogy. You need to commit to it, and it doesn't
That's
have to
very
be fancy.
important. Yes, people would do not have the resolve to stick to it until it works for them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
they
I
have
mean,
to do that.
I went to college with a buddy who was just a very good guitar player. He's very good, and he put the time in, and and I really want to accentuate that point. He put the time in. He may have had a good natural ear. He may have been drawn to strings. He may have fumbled through piano lessons or whatever to get to strings. But at the end of all of it, he put the time in to do it, right? And if he and I were to talk later today, and he would say, "Hey Nick, how's the guitar playing going?" I would go, "I stink just like I did 20 years ago." Right? 30 years ago. And you go, well, how much time are you putting in there? Same as much as I ever did. Not a lot.
Just about zero, right?
Right, right. Still playing the same two songs in parts? I am. How'd you know? Because that's what you did 20, 30 years ago. Okay. Right. So it's the commitment to do it. And so my commitment looks like this. Every morning, I try to wake up early and get it out of the way before my wife wakes up, right? Because it's way better to do it in my own little space. Sometimes the cat's
Mhm.
there, sometimes he's not, but my own space. And I'm just sitting on a little cushion. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's 15, sometimes it's 20. On the outside, it's typically like 20 minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I try to do it every day of the week, and that is the commitment. That's it.
yeah,
Some people do it twice a day. I do it once a day. That seems to be good for me. And then you take care of yourself throughout throughout the day and the week. All right. So you don't in my case, I'm just going to talk from my perspective. Um, you don't have the alcohol. It doesn't work for me anymore. Uh, eat well enough. Processed foods like
mhm,
I have a sugar addiction problem. I need to stay away from it. If I eat that, I'll feel terrible. If I physically feel terrible, everything else is thrown off. Concentration,
yeah,
connection, all the
yeah,
things, right? Um, some amount of exercise that's good for you and your body that makes you feel better, right? Um, and there's a whole lot of drama. There's a whole lot of drama we can dive into, and that just adds static. So the conversations you have, the media that you listen to and you read, you're consuming that, and that changes who you are on the inside, just like the
That's
food
right. Yeah,
does.
you have to very, very be careful about your intake of
That's
whatever.
right. That's right. And you need to be okay with saying, I just don't want to talk about that. It
I don't
doesn't
want to
make
know about politics. That's
it,
what I tell people. Don't
me
tell me.
too.
I figure it'll turn out right no matter what. Oh,
It's yeah, I get to pull my vote once every four, well, I mail it in. I mail in my vote once every 4 years, right?
I don't even go to the polls.
No reason to. No reason
Yeah,
to here.
yeah. I at least
Uh,
go with my husband, right?
Fair enough. We do it at the
Yeah,
dining room
yeah, yeah.
table, and then we mail it in. But you know, people, oop, oop, oop. People say, but don't you want to know? But don't you need to be informed? Right now, I need to be informed about the fires in Southern California. So I'm watching the news. So I'm doing queries on Google. That's important to me. That's relevant to me. That will have an impact on me if it goes in a way that is not good for where we live. So I need to be informed. It's my best interest to be informed there. I don't need to know about every decision and every argument between this party and that party and what this person said. It doesn't it doesn't matter. I cast my vote. That's my civic duty and I'm doing it.
Yeah, there you
People
go.
died for that. So I'm going to go do it. Whether I like the result or not, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to show up and do my part. But I'm not going to consume it every day of the week. I'm not going to eat Burger King every day of the week. I'm not going to, sit on the couch every day of the week, right? That those things, it's the opposite of those things that keep you jazzed and moving. And that is part of the commitment. It's treating yourself right. It's self-love.
To me, the most important thing that I have to do right now is to help people to understand that their lives are eternal. There's
Oh
anyone
yeah.
on earth who still does not really understand that life, whether you like it or not, life is eternal.
Yeah. Yeah.
What looks like death does not, it is not. That's the ultimate illusion.
No.
It's a
Hmm.
joke. It does not happen. We continue after we just take up our body as if it was a funny suit and we just throw it away and we continue on with our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a quote, I believe, a French philosopher at some point a long time ago said it. And it sounds something like this, where spiritual beings having a
A
human
human
experience,
experience. That's right.
right? And I remember, as someone who went to Catholic school for
That's
only 12
true.
years, yeah, right, right. That sort of fit that the training of 12 years, right? And I thought, oh, that's a nice way to wrap up, sort of the dogma in a way that's not dogmatic, but just well
Yeah.
presented. And then I started to have experiences with it. And I thought, oh, it's not just a phrase. Like this is true, right? What he's
It's
saying is
really true.
this
It's
is true.
joyously true.
Oh my goodness, right? So that's now this is a thing. And then the animals showed up, and especially the ones that have passed. And I thought, oh, it's true. It's also incomplete, right?
Yeah.
It's terribly incomplete. It was from his perspective, and I think at least for me, the better way to phrase it is we're all spiritual beings having some form of physical, largely, experience, being it a
Yes.
human, an animal, even the plants, the trees. Uh, you
Oh, the plants. And plants are such spiritual beings.
yeah,
They're all connected with one another.
that's right.
I live my days with a in a over on this side. See, you can see there are a lot of windows there, and there are plants all through those windows. And those plants are friends with one another. Read The Secret Life of Plants. It's an amazing book. Was first came out in the 70s, and your life will never be the same if you read The Secret Life of Plants. Plants are conscious beings.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah,
And they love one another. They love the people who care for them. They miss me when I'm gone because I typically will leave for a week on business trips and stuff. And yeah,
it's
life
cool.
is more amazing and wonderful when you understand that it really is eternal. It just changes. From time to time, you take a life on Earth, you go back home,
Yeah.
and plants are also eternal beings. It's
Yeah.
so extraordinary. My
Yeah.
goodness,
It
my
doesn't,
dear one.
it does, the thought of leaving the planet doesn't frighten me. The thought of not accomplishing the things that I have a chance to accomplish by not doing the right thing scares me to death. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're doing the right things.
Yeah.
You're helping people to understand, much better understand, about the beings, the furry beings around them, and how to communicate with
Totally.
them, and the
Yeah. I
fact
appreciate
that
that.
their pets are eternal.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear from people who say, I don't even want to go to heaven if my pets won't be there. But the fact is, they all will be, all of them. Every
Yeah.
every pet you ever have loved is waiting there for you now, young, healthy, cured of whatever that they had that was their terminal illness, and they'll be there with you forever. So that's one of the things people don't ever have to worry about. Their pets are just fine. My horse is waiting for me, and is he beautiful now? Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
And he
Yeah.
hugs me. Whenever I need his hug, I get his hug. Even
Yeah. Super
now.
cool.
It's quite beautiful. Oh, we've gone so far beyond our time. Oh my goodness. I just enjoy so much talking to you.
Yeah. Me
What
too.
do you want people to take away from our conversation today?
Yeah, I think the number one takeaway from our chat today is you can do this. You can do some version of this. Um, you just have to step into it. You need to commit to doing it. And remember those three C's. There's no coincidences. Be the channel, being open to information that comes, and commit to it. Sit down every day. Do if 5 minutes feels like forever, do a minute. The idea is to build the muscle. At some point, you're going to start to have experiences, and you're not going to want to. It's sort of like a book. You're not going to want to put it down, and
Oh,
you'll feel
yes.
right.
Yeah.
You'll feel foolish walking away from it. Don't. And here's the other thing: when you share your experiences with other people, not everyone's going to relate to you. And they may say things that feel uncomfortable, and let them self-select. Let them self-select. The ones who are going to be drawn closer, those are the conversations you have. The ones that step back, let them step back. Don't convince people. Just stand in your truth and enjoy your time.
Yeah. So, some people find it very, very difficult to think of the larger world that we all inhabit. But
Yeah, it's
some
true.
people that does make them very, very uncomfortable. I don't understand why that's true. You have a wonderful website. It's My Cats Schooled Me. My Cat Schooled Me, one that's just the way a simple phrase
Yeah.
.com, and that will be in the notes to this program. So you don't need to write that down. Don't drive off the road. Um, but I'm just going to take a moment and give people a little bit of information, and I'll come back, dear. Once again, everyone, we've come to the end of our time and we've even gone over. But this has been, I'm sorry, I was having too much fun. This has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. I'm so, so happy you could be with us today. Please never forget that you are a powerful, eternal being. You never began, you never will end. And when you really get all the implications of that fact, it changes everything in your life for the better, and your life never, ever ends. Next week, our guest will be another Seek Reality first timer. I'm loving doing this series with people I've never talked with before and finding that every single one of them is someone I want to talk with forever, which I think is really exciting. But no kidding, my reason for inviting our next week's guest was that I loved the title of his book and I wanted to read it. His book is called Mindful Masculinity. Isn't that beautiful? I loved what his promotional materials said too about his whole approach to this topic. I mean, we've really messed things up between the genders, and it's time to unmess it because, frankly, I love men. I loved men. I've always loved men, and I've loved the fact that because I was a woman in what for most of my life was a men's world, being a lawyer, and felt so easy and comfortable with them, I just I was looking for somebody who understood how simple and beautiful this relationship could be. And I'm looking forward to taking this new step with him and with you in reassessing how the sexes, I don't use genders, I use sexes, can better relate to one another as we go forward together into the future. I think you're going to enjoy talking about this too. So please be sure to join us next week. And today our wonderful guest has been Nick Musica, who's been with us for the first time. Nick is I really can't really characterize him. He's playful and tongue-in-cheek about the fact that we can communicate mentally with animals, with one another. We can just plain communicate if we open ourselves to the fact that conscious communication is so easy. His promotional materials, I thought, were very engaging, and I think that he himself, on a deeper level, is very much more engaging even than his materials made him out to be. I really enjoy talking with him, and I want to have him back and talk with him some more. He communicates with animals thoughtfully, spiritually, and with respect for all creatures. I think he's especially in a sort of a rare and wonderful sort of bird, and I hope you've enjoyed this today. Now, as you know, we have Craig Hogan, who is our president of our and guru of Seek Reality Online. Can't say any more about him than that, but do go to seekreality.com and learn that your life really is eternal. And that's really all I can say because we're way over time. If you want to talk about anything at all with me, you can just go to the green contact block on robertagrimes.com and send me an email. And I do answer all emails if you just give me your correct address. Meanwhile, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy and make the most of this coming week in our one reality, always knowing that you are a powerful, eternal being, and you, most of all in this whole universe, you are infinitely, eternally, and perfectly loved.
You've been listening to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Roberta blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Join us every week as we explore what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about the one reality we all share. Knowing the truth changes everything.